For months now, people across parts of Turkey and Europe have been living in fear as wild boars suddenly appear in overwhelming numbers. These animals don't just destroy crops, they attack livestock and even pose a threat to human lives. Thousands of hectares of farmland have been torn apart overnight. In response to this crisis, skilled hunters have stepped in, and in today's video, we'll bring you heart-pounding chases and intense face-offs between humans and these destructive wild boars. So without further delay, let's dive right in. The video opens with a hunting expedition led by Tony, a seasoned marksman navigating the rugged slopes of Mount Ararat, Turkey. Despite the dense pine forests and treacherous terrain, Tony patiently tracks the wild boars that appeared just the night before. After more than an hour, the boars finally emerge, briefly visible along a hillside. But they're still too far. He needs to get closer. Sticking to the main path, Tony chooses a prime firing position, anticipating their route. The moment his target appears, he fires without hesitation. The massive boar crashes to the ground, completely neutralized. Tony's skill, patience, and nerve, those are his most powerful weapons in this battle. Also in the Rocky Mountain region of Turkey, John, a young but remarkably courageous hunter, faces a fast-moving herd of wild boars weaving through the trees in an attempt to escape. From his perfect ambush position, John wastes no time. As soon as the boars enter his firing range, he opens fire. Every shot hits its mark, throwing the herd into chaos. Some try to turn and flee, but none escape his relentless pursuit. John's speed and reflexes are truly impressive, but what stands out even more is his ability to read the terrain and predict the enemy's path. Absolutely astonishing. Leaving Turkey behind, we now head to southern France, where Jack, a farmer-turned-hunter, found himself with no choice but to take up arms after his fields were repeatedly ravaged. Fast, precise, and decisive shots ended the chaos in an instant. No mercy. Meanwhile, Jack's companions were far from idle. They too had locked onto targets and were giving it their all, pressing forward, waiting for the right moment to strike. After hours of intense tracking and pursuit, several wild boars were brought down. It was the price they paid for the destruction they had caused. In a different turn of events, unlike most hunters, Carlos chose a more strategic path. He spent over 3 days surveying the area and setting up large traps at key spots where wild boars were known to pass. Each trap was carefully prepared, baited with fresh, aromatic corn. Just as he predicted, when the herd appeared, they were quickly drawn in by the well-placed bait. While they eagerly devoured their feast, the trap suddenly snapped shut. Most of the herd was caught instantly. This is a perfect example of how, in the battle against these destructive creatures, it takes more than strength, it takes brains. Wrapping up the video is an absolutely unique moment from Felix, a seasoned hunter living near the Balkan Mountains. During one of his trips, he unexpectedly stumbled upon a group of wild boars. Of course, there's no way he could pass up a rare opportunity like this. Felix raised his rifle, aimed straight at the lead boar, and decisively pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the mountains, startling the herd awake. It was already too late. Felix unleashed a rapid series of follow-up shots, leaving the boars no chance to react. This was likely the most unexpected and effective ambush of Felix's entire life. And that brings today's video to an end. What are your thoughts on today's hunting journey? Drop us a comment below and let us know. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. If you think feral pigs are just a problem for the states, if you're in the South like Texas or Florida, look to the northwest of the United States, where Idaho's wilderness is struggling to fight off a fearsome invader, feral hogs. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, a herd of pigs can destroy more than 20 acres of farmland overnight, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in crop damage each season. But the physical damage is nothing compared to the real danger when you encounter them in the dark. Our trip this time started with a warning from a local, and that night we were truly surrounded. In the quiet of the night, despite limited visibility, thanks to the thermal scope, the target was clearly visible. I followed closely, then chose a perfect ambush position and was ready to fire. Just a moment later, gunshots rang out, tearing through the night. The wild boar fell immediately, quickly, decisively. A worthy end for the one who had destroyed the crops and lives of the people here. In extreme excitement, we continued to shoot at other wild boars. I always tried to aim straight at the head or lungs, where I could take down the target most quickly. The herd of wild boars here was really large. In the darkness, through the thermal scope, I could see dozens of dark figures moving silently among the bushes. But we had prepared in advance. One shot, one kill, that was the rule. And to get such shooting technique, we had to go through hundreds of hours of non-stop field training. But our goal did not stop there. Determined to hunt even bigger wild boars, the group continued to look far away, straining their eyes to search for even the smallest movement in the darkness. And then it appeared. A large wild boar, walking slowly with a high alert look. But we were ready. From the ambush position, I kept calm, waiting for it to get within the ideal distance. That was when a single bullet hit it straight in the head. The boar stopped and collapsed on the spot, making the group unable to hide their excitement. So we kept trying, taking down a few more targets one by one, accurately and neatly. At this time, the wild boars seemed to have sensed the approaching danger. They began to panic and run away. However, thanks to the thermal scope, I could clearly observe even the smallest movements. In the view through the thermal scope, I discovered a giant wild boar slowly moving ahead. I quietly approached, trying to get as close as possible to ensure an accurate shot. However, there were quite a few targets who escaped. Not letting the wild boars escape, we immediately divided into groups and quickly chased in the direction the herd had just fled. As soon as we reached the ideal ambush position, I immediately opened fire and took down the first wild boar. After that, I continued to adjust the gun and shoot the others. The herd of wild boars panicked and ran away, hiding under the green trees and disappearing behind the hill. We were still determined to pursue the wild boars to the end. The whole group carefully observed, not giving any wild boar a chance to escape. Gunshots rang out continuously. Therefore, every few minutes, gunshots rang out, signaling that more wild boars had been taken down. The night was late, but we still did not rest. At this time, giant black shadows were leisurely forging in the fields, unaware that death was near. I held my breath, aimed carefully, then pulled the trigger. When I had aimed at the target, I quickly fired. The loud sound made the pigs panic and run away. However, our group of hunters did not let them escape. All carefully adjusted their guns, trying to take down the entire herd of pigs. If you're looking for a truly top-tier wild boar hunt, trust me, nowhere beats Turkey. This place isn't just home to towering mountain ranges, deep-cut valleys, and endless open fields, it's also a wild boar paradise. They're everywhere, packed into massive herds. Just imagine it, dozens of wild boars stampeding through farmland, flattening everything in their path in the blink of an eye. What would be left to harvest if you didn't stop them? But let's save that for later right now. Join me as we kick off this wild boar hunting adventure. It was a foggy morning after an overnight rain, but our determination to take down wild boars hadn't faded one bit. Despite the limited visibility, the hunting dogs were on point. They tracked down a boar moving along the mountainside. When it bolted, I followed, choosing the perfect spot to set up an ambush. As it passed along the narrow trail below, I didn't hesitate. 2 thunderous shots rang out. Perfect. The boar dropped instantly. A clean, swift end well-deserved for a relentless destroyer. As the fog cleared, we climbed the towering mountain peaks in pursuit of even larger wild boar herds. Even when we spotted just a single boar, we gave it our full focus, determined to bring it down. We stuck to a proven strategy. I took position on a rocky ledge, barrel pointed downward, waiting for the target to appear. And the moment the boar darted past, I pulled the trigger without hesitation. The sharp crack of a shot echoed through the valley. The victory was mine. The boar collapsed moments later, disappearing into the thick underbrush below. Winter had begun to creep down from the mountain peaks. We could already see the snow-capped summits in the distance. On a densely wooded slope, the hunting dogs picked up a fresh scent and quickly flushed out another wild boar. It wasn't the biggest target we'd seen, but it was fast and agile on its feet. The dogs gave chase, but at one point, the boar turned and fiercely fought back, lunging at the pack. I had it in my sights, but the distance was too great for a clean takedown, so I held back and kept tracking. Then, deep in a quiet stretch of forest, we were hit with a surprise. Not just one, but an entire herd of wild boars burst into view, fleeing in chaos. We quickly regained composure and opened fire. Some went down immediately, while others scattered in panic. The entire hunting team joined in, unloading round after round, until the last of a herd was taken care of. That afternoon, we continued tracking the herd as it moved along the mountainside. The terrain was rugged and the weather unforgiving, but the moment we spotted a massive group, over 30 wild boars pouring into the valley, all exhaustion vanished. From our ambush positions, we raised our rifles and opened fire on them. Though we didn't bring down the entire herd, the damage we inflicted was more than enough to make them think twice before returning. Crossing the high mountain ridges, we tracked the herd of wild boars into a narrow ravine. In the dense undergrowth, the boars tried desperately to escape, but there was no slipping past the hunters. Gunfire echoed through the country, mixed with the cries of boars struck down by well-placed shots. After a long, intense effort, we managed to take down nearly 10 of them. day-long hunt had left us exhausted, but the rewards were well worth it. After taking down a few more, we made our way off the mountain before nightfall. I'm sure you wouldn't be too happy if a group of wild boars tore through your garden and destroyed your crops, would you? They hate these wreckers. Just one look at their trampled cornfields, ruined before harvest, and you'd want to stop these boars too. But it's not that simple. Despite countless efforts, locals still haven't been able to get the wild boar population under control. That's why the hunts continue until the very last of them is gone. It was a physically demanding hunt, but the sense of accomplishment was more than enough to keep our spirits high. This is a relentless fight to control a destructive wild species, and we're not backing down. Thanks for following along on this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. After many difficult hunting trips, I realized one thing. Tracking and locating wild pigs from the ground is not only difficult, but also potentially risky. Especially when they quickly escape into the bushes. Determining the direction is almost impossible. So, a bold idea came up. Hunting wild pigs by helicopter. In the U.S., wild pigs are not only an invasive species, but also a nightmare for the agricultural industry. With an impressive reproductive capacity, an average female pig can give birth to 12 to 20 piglets per year. They destroy crops, erode the land, and cause billions of dollars in damage every year. That is why controlling their numbers has become an urgent task. Can I control the situation? Join me in this dramatic battle. Today, I decided to try a new method. Hunting wild boars from a helicopter. With the support of a Robinson R44 Raider and a Wedgetail Industries WT-25-308 Winchester rifle, a specialized weapon with high accuracy. When everything is ready, we start to set off. Our destination is the open land near the forest and the nearby fields. Walking around, I check the terrain as well as look for traces of the invaders. It seems that hunting by helicopter is a good choice. From above, the wide observation range helps me easily detect their traces, plowed land, and destroyed crops. Flying across an open field, I spotted the first targets. They were impressive with their shiny black fur. The size of adults up to 100 kilograms and sharp fangs. Tom quickly adjusted the altitude, kept the plane stable, and approached the target. With the skills and experience accumulated over the years, I raised the gun, decisively pulled the trigger. One shot, one kill. In order to quickly take down the wild boar, I held the gun tightly, calmed down, and chose the vital points. The noise from the helicopter made the nearby wild boars panic, rushing out of their hiding places. However, it was a wrong choice. The helicopter circled over the field. We had just discovered a herd of about 10 wild boars, all of them large in size, and with an incredible speed, up to 40 kilometers each. When the first shot rang out, I knocked down one. The rest immediately scattered to run. This is also a quite typical behavior of wild boars. However, the helicopter gave us a superior advantage. When the first shot rang out, I quickly knocked down one. The rest immediately scattered to escape. But each shot was a sentence for the invader. In this chase, the wild boars could not defeat the power of the helicopters. When Tom chased another herd of wild boars, I fired continuously, but it seemed that the herd of wild boars had realized the danger. They had learned to avoid my attacks. Indeed, this hunting experience from above was not as easy as I thought. From the edge of the forest, Tom flew back to the field. When hearing the sound of the helicopter, they quickly ran into the dense bushes, making it difficult for me to find the target. However, thanks to Tom's ingenuity, we discovered a larger herd of more than 10. Not being able to miss the opportunity, I focused on the biggest ones, pulling the trigger continuously. The wild boars were taken down one by one. We quickly chased the remaining targets. From the edge of the forest, Tom flew back to the field. The final targets gradually appeared. Unable to miss the opportunity, once again approached and surrounded the target. Confusion and panic had made them lose their inherent flexibility. 14. A few minutes passed. The entire herd of wild boars had been taken down by me. Adult wild boars, weighing 80, 120 kilograms, were scattered across the field. After many hours of hunting, we took down about 50 wild boars. However, this number was still a small number compared to the millions of individuals that were destroying the United States. However, that was also the motivation, giving us more strength for the next hunting trips. Alabama, a battlefield where humans face off against wild boars. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, damages caused by wild hogs in Alabama have surpassed $55 million annually. These creatures don't just destroy crops, they attack livestock, wreck irrigation systems, and even cause traffic accidents in hilly regions when they suddenly dart across roads. Drawing from years of hunting experience, I gather my team to organize one of our largest hunts ever, not just to stop the destruction, but to help restore peace to this corner of the American South. Early in the morning, we set off from the foothills in our UTVs, armed with rifles and fully supplied. But as soon as we arrived, something unexpected left us stunned. Cornered a massive wild boar, easily weighing over 330 pounds. We rushed in, but when we got within just a few meters, it suddenly turned and charged. Luckily, my rifle was ready. Without hesitation, I fired and brought it down. The scene was intense, heart-pounding. Once we regained our composure, we pushed on. A rustling from a nearby bush caught everyone's attention. Just as we expected, a dark silhouette appeared. We opened fire. The boar darted away, but couldn't outrun the barrage of bullets. Moments later, it collapsed not far from where it had emerged. Roughly 40 meters ahead, one of our teammates spotted tracks from a larger herd. Following the trail, we soon found their hiding spot. I didn't hesitate. I took the first shot. The first boar dropped instantly, sending the rest of the herd into a panic. We gave chase, closing in fast. The gunfire echoed through the woods, and most of the herd was taken down. Today's hunt turned out better than we expected. It was easier than usual to track down these elusive animals. What truly caught us off guard, though, was their sheer size. Despite their bulky build, these wild hogs move with surprising agility. Here's one trying to make a run for it. But did you really think we'd let escape? One of my teammates flanked it from a front, steadily closing the distance. In the afternoon, we resumed the search, determined to take down as many hogs as possible. And our efforts paid off. This next one wasn't the biggest, but it was particularly clever and slippery. It took us quite some time to finally get a clean shot and put it down.
Get the unit.
As the day came to an end, our team split up to track and eliminate a few isolated targets still hiding nearby.
Yes.
Wild hogs are everywhere. With their explosive breeding rate, their destruction in southern states, especially Alabama, is spiraling out of control. Hunts like these aren't just a quick fix. They're a necessary effort to protect communities, farmland, and the fragile local ecosystem. I started to notice something strange when, just overnight, our entire cornfield was devastated. Tracks were everywhere, the soil was torn up, and half-eaten corn cobs were scattered across the ground. I didn't have to ask anyone. I knew immediately who the culprits were: wild boars. Their presence was no longer part of the natural wilderness. It had become a nuisance, crashing down on the fields of eastern Tennessee. That's when I knew I couldn't just stand by and watch anymore. The gun was cleaned, the hunting dogs trained harder, and the battle officially began. It was drizzling this morning, not the best weather for a hunt. Still, the plan was set, and we knew the boars would likely cause even more damage after the rain, so the whole team headed into the forest. We set up a temporary shelter and waited. Luck struck when we least expected it. A whole herd of boars ran right past us. The rain must have masked our scent and muffled small sounds because the boars didn't notice anything unusual. I fired the opening shot. Boom! They scattered, but in the wrong direction. Their bad luck became my opportunity. A few more shots rang out. In the end, I managed to bring one down. About half an hour later, the rain stopped. We spotted the next target as it was trying to cross a narrow path. Without hesitation, I raised my gun and took aim. The boar collapsed on the roadside. What I love most about hunting after rain is how easy it is to spot wild boar tracks. Just a few dozen meters away, a lone wild boar was surrounded by our dogs. As I approached, it tried to bolt, but it was too late. I pulled the trigger without hesitation. The boar dropped on the spot. Another troublemaker eliminated. The dogs had been barking non-stop somewhere in the forest. I chose to ambush from the side of a gentle slope, a spot hidden from view, but with a good line of sight uphill. And just seconds later, a massive wild boar appeared on the ridge. I fired instinctively. The aim and timing were perfect.
Good.
But just as I was catching my breath, I unexpectedly ran into another one. This time, a whole herd. After several rounds of shooting, my hands grew steadier. Not a single shot missed. One down. Then two. Moments like this make all the fatigue from this morning feel absolutely worth it. With enough trophies secured, we decided to wrap up the hunt early instead of going until dusk like usual. Even so, on the way out of the woods, I stayed alert, hoping for one last lucky encounter to end the hunt on a high note. Dense trees severely limited visibility. After a missed shot, the herd immediately bolted and vanished into the forest. Alabama, a battlefield where humans face off against wild boars. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, damages caused by wild hogs in Alabama have surpassed $55 million annually. These creatures don't just destroy crops, they attack livestock, wreck irrigation systems, and even cause traffic accidents in hilly regions when they suddenly dart across roads. Drawing from years of hunting experience, I gathered my team to organize one of our largest hunts ever, not just to stop the destruction, but to help restore peace to this corner of the American South. Early in the morning, we set off from the foothills in our UTVs, armed with rifles and fully supplied. But as soon as we arrived, something unexpected left us stunned. Cornered a massive wild boar, easily weighing over 330 pounds. We rushed in, but when we got within just a few meters, it suddenly turned and charged. Luckily, my rifle was ready. Without hesitation, I fired and brought it down. The scene was intense, heart-pounding. Once we regained our composure, we pushed on. A rustling from a nearby bush caught everyone's attention. Just as we expected, a dark silhouette appeared. We opened fire. The boar darted away, but couldn't outrun the barrage of bullets. Moments later, it collapsed not far from where it had emerged. Roughly 40 meters ahead, one of our teammates spotted tracks from a larger herd. Following the trail, we soon found their hiding spot. I didn't hesitate. I took the first shot. The first boar dropped instantly, sending the rest of the herd into a panic. We gave chase, closing in fast. The gunfire echoed through the woods, and most of the herd was taken down. Today's hunt turned out better than we expected. It was easier than usual to track down these elusive animals. What truly caught us off guard, though, was their sheer size. Despite their bulky build, these wild hogs move with surprising agility. Here's one trying to make a run for it, but did you really think we'd let escape? One of my teammates flanked it from a front, steadily closing the distance. In the afternoon, we resumed the search, determined to take down as many hogs as possible. And our efforts paid off. This next one wasn't the biggest, but it was particularly clever and slippery. It took us quite some time to finally get a clean shot and put it down.
Get the unit.
As the day came to an end, our team split up to track and eliminate a few isolated targets still hiding nearby.
Yes.
Wild hogs are everywhere. With their explosive breeding rate, their destruction in southern states, especially Alabama, is spiraling out of control. Hunts like these aren't just a quick fix. They're a necessary effort to protect communities, farmland, and the fragile local ecosystem. Texas is one of the regions hit hardest by wild boars, making them a serious threat to local agriculture. Today, my friends and I are heading out on another wild boar hunt. This isn't just a way to control their population, it's also something we genuinely enjoy. Stick around to see if we manage to take down any boars this time. As usual, my friends and I drove out to the wide open grasslands behind the mountains to kick off a hunting trip. Since this is a familiar hunting ground, several feeders and hunting stands had already been set up to lure the wild boars in, and this time was no different. From the stand, I adjusted my rifle for the best line of sight. There it is, our target completely absorbed in enjoying the tasty grains. I held my breath. With a swift pull of the trigger, the bullet shot out, and the boar dropped instantly. A smooth, promising start. With each quiet step, I carefully moved through the bushes, trying not to make a single sound. Reaching a good vantage point, I could see the wild boar moving in and out of view, almost blending into the dry grass. It looked extremely alert, ready to bolt at any second. The moment came. I fired, the bullet sliced through the air. The shot rang out, and the boar staggered. Without hesitation, I took the second shot, and the wild boar finally collapsed, completely taken down. As we followed the forest trail, our eyes constantly scanned for signs of wild boars' jagged hoofprints, and patches of freshly dug earth stood out clearly on the damp ground. It was obvious these animals had become a nightmare for local farmers. After a long, silent wait, we suddenly spotted a lone wild boar. Its size was far larger than the ones we usually encounter, making our entire group extra cautious. My heart pounded in my chest as I prepared to take the shot. Then, as the target came fully into view, I took aim and held my breath. cut through the air. In the slightly distance, the wild boar dropped instantly. As the sun began to set and dusk settled in, we spotted a group of wild boars foraging, digging into the earth in search of food. In the fading light, we watched closely. Concentration, I decided to take the shot aiming at the largest boar in the group. A single, decisive shot, unexpectedly precise, dropped the target on the spot. Wasn't the end. A new group of wild boars had just appeared, and our determination only grew stronger. Without hesitation, a shot rang out, leaving no chance for panic or escape. Another massive target was taken down. Unfortunately for them, today they crossed paths with us. The squeals of the startled boars echoed through the air, but I wasn't about to let them get away. One shot after another, and the wild hogs dropped one by one in the tall grass. As night fell, we returned home with the spoils from an exhilarating day of boar hunting. The wild hogs would now become a delicious meal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.